Hey Radiant Youth, I'm Sam Canchola, and tonight we're continuing our series on potential.
Potential. What's the potential? Yes.
It's a series about dating, relationships, and even those situationships that we're unsure to label it. But whatever label you put on it, we're talking about the idea of having somebody in your life that you like. And you kind of hope they like you back.
Hey buddy, let's be friends and high five and stuff.
But today we're gonna talk about wisdom in your, well, we'll just call it a situationship. But first, I want you to think about the last TikTok audio that was stuck in your head. Like that one audio that just loops in the funniest way and people have been sharing left and right. The one that's been stuck in my head lately has been this one. I don't know why, but it's just been living rent-free in my head and I can't seem to get it out. And we gotta realize that music and sounds aren't the only things that can get stuck in our heads. There are times when I want a spicy Chick-fil-A sandwich with pepper jack cheese and a medium fry so bad that it's all I can think about. There are times when it's a pair of shoes you want to buy, or maybe a show you're dying to watch. But we all get the idea of something living in your head rent-free. And if you found yourself interested in someone recently, then you know that it's a lot like a spicy Chick-fil-A sandwich where you just can't get that person out of your mind, no matter how hard you try. And thinking about them never gets old. Talking about them never gets old, at least not to you. And here's a secret, that's normal. And it doesn't have to be a bad thing, but it can be a problem when a person or the idea of having a person becomes an obsession.
Why are you so obsessed with me?
Now, Radiant Youth, there's nothing wrong with having someone in your life. And there's nothing wrong with being excited about it. If you don't have someone in your life and you wish you did, there's nothing wrong with that either. But when everything else in your life seems to fade out because of this person, well, it becomes problematic. And you might be wondering, but why? Well, here's why. Because one, you get distracted. Life is full of good and important things to focus on, and it's easy to miss out if all you're focused on is a relationship. You can miss out on chances to make memories with your friends, your family, time to perfect that skill. You see, being too focused on any one thing is never a good idea. The second is that you can push people away. Your friends aren't dumb. They realize when your heart, time, energy, and thoughts are not with them. When you ghost them all the time to hang out with someone else, they feel the distance and separation. And if you're not careful, eventually that can take a toll on your relationships. And all of a sudden, the people that you used to care about the most don't feel like you care about them, even if you do. We've all seen people give up friends, sports, and even things they are into for the person they're dating, and deep down, we know that they're probably missing out. And so the question is, what do you do about it? You can't not care about someone if you care about them, right? I mean, isn't that the whole point? But how much is good for you and how much isn't? Well, today we're gonna look at a passage from a letter written by the Apostle Paul, who wrote almost half of the New Testament, all letters to emerging faith communities in the first century. And it's good for you to know his motivation was always out of love. He wanted people to love God, love each other, and live better lives, which is something that we want too. And dating as we know it didn't exist when Paul wrote this. And even though this passage doesn't specifically talk about dating, the truth that comes from it can certainly be applied. This is how Paul starts. He says, "Be very careful then how you live, not as unwise, but as wise." Paul is basically saying, pay attention to how you're living your life. Don't just let life happen to you. And as you choose how you live, wise is better than unwise. And wisdom is important when we talk about dating, because having someone in your life is rarely as easy as right or wrong. Most of the time, dating decisions have more to do with wise or unwise. And it's rarely as much about, is that person good or bad? And more like, are they good for me? Or are they good for me right now? You see, Paul is encouraging his audience, pay attention to what you do and make the wisest choices that you can. This principle can be applied to just about anything, your friendships, school, schedule, etc. But for the sake of today's conversation, here are some questions to ask yourself when it comes to specifically dating. At what point does being interested in someone or the idea of someone cross the line into obsession? When it comes to my interest in dating, how close am I to that line? Paul's also not done making his point here. He continues on to say, making the most of every opportunity because the days are evil. Now, you may be asking, is Paul saying that the world is falling apart? No. In Greek, actually, the original language this letter was written, the word Paul uses means something closer to annoying, difficult, or time-consuming. In other words, your time gets taken up by so many different things, it's important to make the most of what you have left. And Paul is simply pointing out our habit of wasting time in unwise ways. And if it's true for people back then, it's especially true for us. And we all know what it's like when we waste time on things. And so Paul wants his readers and us to make the most of our time. And when it comes to these years in middle and high school, this is so important. These years are a unique part of your life, and you will never experience anything like it again. You're gonna look back at these days and be surprised at how much it matters and how much it shaped you. And you don't wanna say, I missed that time with my friends because I was always distracted with this one relationship. Or it sounds like it's fun, but I don't remember much of it because I only hung out with that one person. You have a chance to encourage your friends, influence people who are younger than you, and develop yourself in so many areas right now. Dating can be a great part of that, but when it takes up too much space, it has the potential to leave you or the other person with hurt or regret. And so let me just shoot it to you straight, Radiant Youth. God is at work in your life, and God wants to use you in specific ways while you're in middle or high school. And while dating can be a part of that plan, it can also be a distraction from it. And so to make the best use of that time you have in high school, one thing we can take away from Paul's encouragement to us is this. Nothing, everybody say it with me, nothing in life should hold you back from the rest of your life. Now, that's not a knock on the person that you like or the person that you're dating. It doesn't mean that relationship doesn't have potential, but it does mean that the more we make someone the entire focus of our life, the more potential that we have to miss out on the other things that matter. Is dating something you can do with part of your time and part of your attention? If so, awesome. You have a ton of other parts of life to focus on right now. But if your dating life is holding you back from the rest of your life, it may be time to rethink some things. And so here's what that looks like. 1, broaden your focus. When we become so obsessed with the person we're dating or the idea of dating someone, we can lose all sense of perspective. And so to get it back, start living a life that includes more than just one person. Expand your world. Broaden your focus outside of the person that you're dating. 2, if you're currently in a relationship, don't forget the people around you. Don't ditch your friends. Don't abandon your family. Don't lose interest in the people that have been so important in your life. It can be so easy to want to spend all your time with the person that you're in a relationship with because they are awesome. I get it. But don't let other relationships drop off along the way. And 3rd, if you aren't dating anyone, don't make it your main goal. If you aren't happy with your life or who you are while you aren't dating someone, then you won't be when you are. No one can make that change for you, and you don't need another person for you to have a great high school or middle school experience. Hear what I'm saying here. Dating isn't a solution. Why? Because being single isn't a problem unless you've made it a problem. If you meet someone along the way, great. But don't spend these years waiting around for that person to show up. There's way too much that is awesome about your life to not enjoy it because you wished that you were in a relationship. And so as we wrap up, let me say this. Dating can be a really good thing, but don't miss out on being in middle or high school because you're taking dating too seriously. Don't miss the chance to figure out who you are because you're too consumed with relationship. And so remember, nothing in life should keep you from the rest of your life, and that includes relationships. If you feel like that's me, then maybe you can pull your leader or a trusted adult to the side and let them know that you'd like some help. They can help you find creative ways to get things back in perspective. And sometimes talking about it makes all the difference in the world. And so Radiant Youth, I'm so glad that you came tonight, and I can't wait to see you soon.